Good morning. This is Jim's Little Boat. I'm Jim. I'd like to share with you some information about batteries in our little Catalina 22s. Yesterday we were out on Bootstrap and suddenly the voltmeter said the battery was putting out 10.2 volts, which couldn't be right because we had the solar charger hooked up and the motor was running. So I disconnected the battery and sure enough we were back to 12.9 volts. So let's kind of look at some things that went into what was going on that day and what I'm going to do about it. Well, for starters, we can see this really isn't the right kind of battery. This is a starting battery. It's not a deep cycle battery, but it was on the boat, it was free, and it's worked for 4 years. And we can see this battery was installed in September of 2012, so it's 8 years old. It was probably going to die anyway. In fact, I'd been suspecting it all winter. I head to the battery store and see what they have to say. I think I'll go to Batteries Plus. Battery Plus hooked me up $240, including Washington State sales tax of about 10%. Dead short on the old battery. Battery's just sitting there. It's not hooked up to the electrical system yet. And as you can clearly see, the engine isn't running. It's kind of a cloudy, bright day. Solar panel is a cheap little 100 watt from Harbor Freight. Clamps cost more than the panel did. There's a look at the clamps. And we can see with just a little bit of cloudy bright sunshine, the panel's putting out about 12.8, 13.2 volts, something like that. I don't really know what that transfers into amps. I'm going to guess about 7. Let me know if you know how to figure that out. As you can see, the solar charger all by itself produces enough electricity to take care of the depth sounder. The panel is all covered up with my windbreaker. And as you would expect, the output is 0, nothing. We'll go ahead and start up the engine and see what happens. So there's the engine at a fast idle. And that gives us 0 volts, but at least it's enough to excite the voltmeter. Let's go turn it up a bit and see what we get. Well, that's faster than I like it to run, but it's a very fast idle. So the engine at that fast idle puts out 14.1 volts. Interesting to know. It's also interesting that it didn't show anything till I put some load on it. I just turned the radio on and you can see the voltage drop to 12.7, 12.8, something like that. So, interesting to know. The motor does charge, however, it's got to be pretty high RPM. I turned the engine down to a slow idle as I disconnected the gas line, and we can see we only get about 8 volts. We'll put the battery in that forward hatch under the V-berth and hook it up. The battery is secure. If I could afford it, I would have bought another one just to get the weight more forward in the boat, but really $250 just for a little extra ballast? Probably not. And the cabin lights work, so we know the polarity is correct on the battery. That pleasant sound was the depth sounder telling us we have less than 10 feet of water. And so with just a little tiny bit of load and a battery, and of course the solar charger, we've got 12.8 volts. I think I'll call that a check mark.